Have you ever felt like you're walking through a shadow so deep, so consuming, that you can't see a single ray of light? What if I told you that even there, especially there, grace is waiting to be found? And that one of the greatest storytellers of our time, J.R.R. Tolkien, knew this secret intimately. That's what we're exploring today. Not just the epic tales of Middle-earth, but the profound, life-altering truth that Tolkien wove into every line, a truth born from his own encounters with darkness and light. We're on a journey to discover how you, right now, might be on the verge of finding grace in your darkest moment. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. The name itself conjures images of hobbits, elves, and epic battles between good and evil. But behind the fantasy, behind the myth, was a man of deep faith, a devout Catholic whose understanding of suffering, hope, and redemption shaped his entire creation. He wasn't just writing adventure stories, he was painting a picture of the human condition, and more importantly, of divine intervention. His faith informed his worldview, that creation, though marred by evil, is fundamentally good, and that this inherent goodness is the very reason why light can, and ultimately will, overcome darkness. This wasn't just wishful thinking, it was a conviction rooted in his understanding of God as the ultimate creator and redeemer. Tolkien experienced profound loss early in life. He lost his father when he was just 3. His mother, who converted to Catholicism, a decision that ostracized her from much of her family, died when he was 12, leaving him and his brother orphans. He would later write that his mother was a martyr for her faith and that her sacrifice was a source of his own enduring belief. Then came the Great War, World War I. Tolkien served on the Western Front in the horrific trenches of the Battle of the Somme. He witnessed unimaginable carnage, lost many of his dearest friends, and contracted trench fever, which likely saved his life by sending him home. These weren't abstract concepts of darkness for Tolkien. They were lived realities. The mud, the blood, the grief, these were his companions. And it was from these depths, from these shadows, that his understanding of hope truly began to shine. He didn't see hope as a naive optimism, a cheerful denial of reality. For Tolkien, hope was a virtue, a hard-won conviction that even in the bleakest circumstances, light persists and good will ultimately triumph, often in ways we least expect. This conviction stemmed from his belief in a benevolent God whose providence subtly weaves through the tapestry of events, even those that seem chaotic or purely evil. Think about the Lord of the Rings. Frodo Baggins, a small hobbit, is tasked with carrying the One Ring, a burden of immense evil, into the heart of Mordor, the enemy's land, to destroy it. It's an impossible quest. As Frodo and Sam journey deeper into darkness, hope dwindles. They face betrayal, exhaustion, and despair. There's a moment when Frodo, utterly spent, collapses. Mordor surrounds them, a landscape of ash and shadow. All seems lost.
Samwise Gamgee, loyal Sam, looks up at the oppressive cloud-choked sky of Mordor, and through a break in the clouds, he sees a single star. Just one, and he says, "There, peeking among the cloud rack, a star shone out briefly. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked up out of the forsaken land, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft, clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach." That right there is the core message. In the deepest, most suffocating darkness, a pinprick of light can pierce through and remind us of a greater, enduring reality. Tolkien called this concept eucatastrophe. It's a sudden, joyous turn, a miracle.
It's not just a happy ending tacked onto a story, it's the belief that grace can intervene, that despair doesn't have the final word. The resurrection for Tolkien was the ultimate eucatastrophe of human history, the definitive example of God snatching victory from the jaws of apparent defeat, joy from sorrow, life from death. This wasn't something earned or deserved. It was a sheer gift, a pure act of divine love and power. He wrote, "The birth of Christ is the eucatastrophe of man's history. The resurrection is the eucatastrophe of the story of the incarnation." This wasn't just literary theory for him. It was a profound spiritual truth. He believed that this pattern of sudden, unlooked-for grace, this joyous turn, was woven into the fabric of reality itself because it reflects the nature of God, a God who was not distant and uncaring, but intimately involved, a God who delights in bringing light out of darkness, echoing the very first act of creation, "Let there be light."
So, how does this apply to us, to you, today? Maybe you're going through something that feels like your own Mordor. Perhaps it's the relentless grind of a job that drains your soul, leaving you feeling empty and wondering if there's any meaning in your work. Or maybe you're facing the terrifying abyss of addiction, either your own or that of someone you love, a cycle that seems impossible to break. It could be the silent ache of profound loneliness, even when surrounded by people, or the daunting challenge of parenting when you feel utterly unequipped. Perhaps you're grappling with a sense of failure, a dream that has died, or the heavy burden of past mistakes that whisper you're not good enough. In these moments, when the shadow stretches long and the air is thick with despair, it's so easy to believe that this darkness is the only reality. It's easy to feel like Frodo, ready to surrender, convinced that the burden is too heavy, the path too desolate, and your strength utterly gone. You might even feel like God has forgotten you, that your prayers are bouncing off a brass ceiling. But Tolkien's message, born from his own scars and his unwavering faith, urges us to remember that this is precisely when we must actively look for that star. It's not a passive waiting, it's an intentional seeking. What does that look like in our modern lives?
It might mean consciously practicing gratitude, even when it feels forced. Can you find one tiny thing today that isn't terrible? The taste of your coffee, a moment of quiet, the fact that you woke up. This isn't to deny the pain, but to refuse to let the pain be the only thing you see. This is akin to Sam choosing to look up despite the oppressive gloom of Mordor. It could mean reaching out even when your instinct is to withdraw, sharing your struggle with a trusted friend, a family member, a pastor, or a therapist. Vulnerability is terrifying, but it's often the crack through which the light of connection and support can enter. Sometimes another person's perspective, their encouragement, can be that star for you. Perhaps it's found in rediscovering something that once brought you joy or peace, music that lifts your spirit, time spent in nature noticing the resilience of life, losing yourself in a creative pursuit, or rereading a beloved book or scripture that has spoken to you in the past. These can be anchors, reminders of beauty and truth that exist beyond your current suffering. And, crucially, it involves what Tolkien himself practiced, a persistent, though sometimes struggling, turning towards God. This doesn't mean you have to have all the answers or even feel a strong sense of faith. It can be as simple as a whispered, "God, if you're there, help me see some light." It's an openness, a willingness to believe that grace might just be possible. For Tolkien, this wasn't about a formula, but a relationship, often a wrestling match like Jacob with the angel, but a relationship nonetheless. He understood that God's ways are not our ways, and his interventions are often surprising, quiet, and profound, rather than loud and bombastic. Consider the biblical story of Elijah in 1 Kings. He's fleeing for his life, despairing, and he expects to find God in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire. But God isn't in those dramatic displays. He comes in a gentle whisper. Our eucatastrophes, our moments of grace, often arrive with similar subtlety. an unexpected insight during a quiet moment, a sudden feeling of peace that has no logical explanation, a small act of kindness from an unexpected quarter that shifts your perspective, a problem that seemed insurmountable slowly beginning to resolve in a way you couldn't have orchestrated. Tolkien teaches us that hope isn't about ignoring the darkness. It's about acknowledging the darkness, feeling its weight, its terrible reality, and yet still choosing to believe in the light beyond it. It's about understanding deep in your bones that the shadow, however powerful it may seem in the moment, however much it may claim, is ultimately a small and passing thing compared to the eternal, unquenchable light and high beauty of God's love and truth. This is rooted in the theological conviction that evil is parasitic. It cannot create, it can only distort and destroy what is already good. Therefore, goodness, light, and truth have the ultimate, foundational reality. Think about your own life. When have you felt completely overwhelmed, lost in your personal Mordor, only for an unexpected solution, a word of comfort, or a renewed sense of strength to appear seemingly out of nowhere? That was grace. That was your eucatastrophe. When have you felt utterly alone, isolated by your pain, only for someone to show up, to listen, to simply be present with you in your darkness? That was grace. When have you been on the very brink of despair, feeling the last vestiges of hope slipping away, only for a tiny, almost imperceptible spark to reignite within you, whispering, "Keep going"? That too was grace.
This isn't to say it's easy or that the pain isn't real. Frodo and Sam's journey was agonizing, filled with moments where surrender seemed the only sane option. Your journey might be agonizing too, but the promise, the profound truth that Tolkien not only wrote about but lived, is that you are not forgotten. The light is always there, an eternal constant, even when obscured by the thickest, most suffocating clouds. Grace is not just a theological concept. It's an active, seeking presence, God's love in motion, always looking for a way to break through into our shadowed lives. Sometimes we are called to be Sam for someone else, to have the courage to point to that star when they can no longer see it, to offer our strength when theirs is failing. And sometimes we are the ones who need someone to be Sam for us, to remind us that the darkness isn't the end of the story. The beauty of Tolkien's message, and indeed the Christian message he embraced, is that even the smallest among us, the most ordinary, the ones who feel insignificant, can play a pivotal role in the triumph of good. Your small act of faith, your quiet prayer in the face of despair, your decision to keep going one more day, to offer one small kindness, these things matter profoundly in the divine economy. Tolkien believed that God works through the small, the unexpected, the seemingly insignificant. Just as a little hobbit, an unlikely hero from a forgotten corner of the world, was chosen to bear the ring, so too can our seemingly small lives be arenas for God's grace to manifest in powerful and surprising ways. Your darkest moment, the one that feels like it will break you, might in fact be the very setting for an incredible display of God's love and power in your life. It might be the prelude to your own eucatastrophe, a joyous turn that will redefine your understanding of hope and grace. So, I want to leave you with this thought, this challenge, this profound encouragement. Even if you're in the deepest valley, even if the shadows are long, menacing, and seemingly all-consuming, look up. Actively search for that flicker of starlight. Intentionally listen for that gentle whisper of hope. Because grace is not a myth. It's an active, pursuing reality, waiting to break through. Tolkien knew it not just as a storyteller, but as a man of faith who had walked through his own shadows. And you, right now, might be closer than you think to finding it, perhaps when and where you least expect it. What do you think?
When have you experienced a moment of unexpected grace, a eucatastrophe in your own life, especially when things felt darkest? What specific practices or beliefs help you hold on to hope during your Mordor moments? Share your stories, your struggles, and your insights in the comments below. Your experience, your flicker of starlight, might be the very encouragement someone else desperately needs to see today. Let's build a community of hope together, illuminating the path for one another.